Hey friends, welcome to episode 3, season 2 of Sassy AFTV, How to Level Up Your Life. When was the last time you truly felt connected, mind, body, and spirit? When was the last time you lived your life like a kid again and enjoyed it all with boundless energy? This week's guest is Anna Kuusela. Anna is a multi-passionate entrepreneur who went from professional dancer to corporate consultant to entrepreneur. She has traveled the world, worked with Tony Robbins, and her mission is to help women feel more confident, have more fun, and teach them how to turn thoughts into intentional action. As Anna says, if you don't show up as yourself, life can only meet you halfway. Get ready for this fiery interview. Here we go. Welcome back to another episode of Sassy AFTV. I am so happy to be here today with my guest, my new friend, Anna Kuusela. Did I say that right?
You did so well. Seriously, I'm proud of you. Well done, sister.
I love your accent. I listen to your podcast all the time, and I just love the sound of your voice. It's very soothing and energizing all at the same time.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Anna, and I'm going to let her speak to what she does. But she is an amazing businesswoman. She has gone from being a professional dancer to a management consultant to an entrepreneur. She is the host of the Good Vibes Only podcast, and she is the author of the Wonder Woman Playbook, which I absolutely love. She has an amazing Facebook community. She's all about positivity and really about looking at your thinking and taking action steps to transform your life to become the best version of you. So Anna, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge. I'm just thrilled to have you here.
Thank you so much. And you know what? Can I briefly share my story behind my accent?
Please.
Because, I get a lot of positive comments from Americans in particular. They, for some reason, enjoy my accent. So I'm from Finland and I moved to London over 7 years ago. And when I first moved here and started working in consulting, I became so self-conscious about my accent. And when you're worried about making mistakes, you put energy there, you start to make more mistakes. And then I started making more mistakes, and it was like a downward spiral. And I was very conscious that actually this is hampering my career. I was less confident when I communicated. And one evening, my boss said to me, you know what, Anna, your accent and everything that you are makes you so different. Immediately when you speak, people are like, wow, where is she from? Wow, where is that accent from? And in that, 1 minute, like this thing changed. My entire mindset changed, because before I was so conscious about speaking in English, and suddenly I was like, actually, that's what makes me unique and it's my asset. So just to help other foreigners out there, because, it's hard to suddenly manage your entire life in a foreign language. But then when you take this mindset, for me, like it changed the game. And after that, I became more relaxed. And these days I still make mistakes, but I can communicate so well. And I feel like people understand me. So I'm like,
yeah. But isn't that true about every part of life? I mean, it's such a beautiful metaphor. We all make mistakes all the time in every aspect of our daily life, regardless of you're talking about, your family life or how you relate to somebody. How many times have you overthought a conversation with a friend, whether it's via text or phone? You're like, oh shit, did I say that? Did I hurt her feelings? And you overthink it, right? So we all have these thoughts constantly, but then we have to remember that we're human. And that's part of the beauty, I think, actually, of being individuals, is that we make mistakes and we learn and we get back up. And oftentimes nobody else actually knows that we made the mistake.
Absolutely. And, I know we'll talk more about this, but sometimes when you're in that mindset, it's hard to change it, because I didn't, like, what would I change it into? And then someone else like reflected something new on me, and, the whole thing just, it was like a paradigm shift. So that's pretty awesome. But anyways, thanks for the beautiful intro, by the way. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited too. And I want to say, just to share with the audience, that when I first encountered you, I think via Instagram, which I love the power of social media to bring people together. I mean, how else would we have met? We're, I don't know, 6,000 miles away or something like that. But I remember you have this one picture of yourself where you're like walking, it's in black and white, and you're like walking down the street. And I love this photograph. It's like very confidence exuding. And I just pictured this image of you, and it just caught my attention. And I think that's either why I reached out, or I commented on a post or something to that effect. And then we started to exchange, you know, messages back and forth, and they were all typewritten for a while. And then I think we started leaving a voice message. And the first time you left me a voice message, I was like, ooh, she is really cool. I just had this instant connection. So I love that. I love the connection. I love the story about your accent. So I'm just so glad that you're here.
And thank you. And now I'm trying to think, what is that photo?
I'm going to find it. I'm going to send it to you.
But that's amazing. I'm so grateful we met and finally made the time to actually report something and share our stories to the world.
Me too. So, okay. So I love your story, Anna, of how you have really transformed your life and gone through this journey of starting in professional dancing, moving to management consulting, and now as an entrepreneur. So I'd love to know more and really share with us your story of your journey going from really the creative side of your life and moving more into the business side. Tell us about that.
Wow. Okay. How long do we have? No.
All right. Give us the condensed version.
I'll tell the condensed version, but it needs to start when I was 5 years old, because that's the first time when I saw ballet and I fell in love right away. So I'm very much a person who does things with passion or not at all. And when I see something that I really desire, I go all in. And I went to ballet because, you know, seeing those three dancers that transformed my life, I was like, I need some of that. But you know what? I'm 5'9", and also like I'm quite broad shoulders. Like I'm quite big for ballet dancer. So about the age of 12, I started running into problems of being fat. I'm doing air quotes here in ballet. And you know how hard it is, right? And I didn't realize what I was doing at the time because I didn't have the right framing of like, you know, the titles of like, let me work with my mindset. Let me have a growth mindset, right? I'm 12. But I had such a huge desire that I thought that, you know what, I really want to make this work. And I started looking, what can I cultivate in myself to get this ballet thing to work? And I realized that I can't make my shoulders more narrow, but what I can do is I could be an amazing performer because I love the performer side of ballet. And I always thought when I looked at dancers, I'm like, those both two of them are pretty good, but why do I like the other one better? Normally because they were a better performer. They gave me a better experience. So I started working on that side of myself and my talent. And you know what? By the age of 18, I was dancing all the leading roles in my school. I got all the best parts, and I was like the selected favorite dancer of my teacher. And I got selected to the Finnish National Ballet's special program for talented youngsters and all this stuff. So, you know, why this is important and why I want to share this is that all of us have a lot of potential within us. But if we don't bring it forward, no one will see it. And for me, I wanted to be a ballet dancer so badly that I didn't let anything to stop me. And that's why I'm like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And you know, when you knock on the door, someone will open, like you will get an answer. And that's what I started to do. And, you know, for the kind of rest of my life, moving to London, you know, I moved to London without a job. I didn't know anyone. I had like 500 euros. I didn't have a place to live. Like I had nothing. But with that sort of experience that I've had with ballet, I always know that I can like make this work. I can make any situation work for myself. And that, I think that's really shaped my mindset around being open for opportunities, taking risks, calculated risks in a sense, but also always thinking like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Because this is what I really want. So if I don't do this, I'm going to be disappointed in myself. So I guess if you like overlay this sort of mindset on top of my journey, I think for me at least it starts to make more sense because I've just looked more where like it really makes me kind of sparkle. And I've just followed that because of course that changes. Like ballet is one thing, then I was in consulting, it was amazing. Now I have my own business. You know, things change, we evolve and grow and our passion changes. So it's been like, for me, yeah, it's not a linear journey, but it, you know, like Steve Jobs says, like you can always connect the dots when you look backwards, right?
Right? Hindsight's
So,
2020.
exactly. So now it kind of starts to make more sense. So I guess like I've always just followed my passion and the desire, what I wanted to create. And maybe it's not the most traditional career path, but this is what it led me to create.
I love it. But it's really fascinating to me how you had such self-awareness, especially at the age of 12. I mean, I can imagine the passion for ballet starting at 5. I think that's very common, right? Many little girls or little boys, right? They see something and it just makes their eyes light up and they get all big and think, wow, that's amazing. I want to do that, right? And we have these ideals and these dreams. And then maybe we start doing something, but it doesn't necessarily turn into the passion that we hope that it will when we're 5. And when there's a roadblock, like you said, you had a physical roadblock, right, at 12, and you had a choice at that point. You could have either given up and quit and said, well, oh, well, I'm not the right shape for this path, so I'm not going to be a ballerina anymore. But you chose instead to say, I really love this. How can I work with my body? How can I work with my gifts to show up as the best version of me? That's amazing to have that level of confidence and self-awareness and just the understanding at such a young age. Who do you attribute that messaging to? How did you have that, just that force of energy?
So Hallie, that's like the way you put it is so lovely. And I guess it, like at 12, I just really wanted to be a dancer. And you know what? I guess I'm still the kid who really gets excited about things and doesn't give up. And let's remember that there's always a lot of people who have opinions about you and what you should be doing, right? And there's people who give you advice and, you know, ballerinas should look like this and you should be doing this. But I always thought that I decide what I want to do. And I didn't want to give that power away. And, you know, it gets harder the older you get, because now I'm 36 and clearly there's an expectation in a cultural, you know, societies we live in about what I should be doing. So going against the flow this age, like you need to be explaining yourself to people a lot, right? But I guess like I had, like my parents were always very supportive of what I wanted to do. And I guess there's a part in me, like I'm a Taurus and my star sign, which is like never gives up. So
that explains a lot, actually.
Yeah, because, you know, sometimes when I decide something, I just go after it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't give up, even when I know deep down that, Anna, yeah, just drop it. But like, you know, I have my pride and I'm like, I started this, I'm going to finish it. So there's a part of that. But like now when you put it like that, do you think that, you know, if there's one roadblock, if there's one thing that someone says you shouldn't be doing that, I'm like, what? Yeah, maybe that's my ballet teacher. Like they, you know, there's a lot of authority, but they can't decide what I can do and what I can't do.
That's amazing.
That's kind of that's where I come from. Like, I don't know. I don't think it was confidence at 12. It was just burning desire to be a dancer. And, you know, I'm come from a small town where there was the one school, that one opportunity. Where else am I going to dance? And they didn't tell me not to come here. They're just like, Anna, you're just, you know, on the larger side. And I'm like, I don't care. Boom. You know?
And clearly that burning desire has carried you through so much of your journey, right? I mean, and I'm just hearing, you know, I've heard your story a few times, of course, but you know, getting to know you better and thinking about it, right? So you've had this burning desire in your youth to really excel and perform and be the best and get all those roles that you got. And then you have this burning desire also to be, you know, successful professionally, and you work with huge firms in management consulting, and you have this burning desire to really make it on your own. And you moved to London with, what'd you say, 500 euros, which is not a lot to your name, right? But you're like, come hell or high water, I'm going to make this happen. And I think that because you have this drive and this passion and this part of you, that's why you have such a gift to share this with others. Because while you may not see it as anything other than just who you are, I will tell you that your drive and commitment to yourself is tremendous. And that is one of the biggest lessons that I'm hoping to, you know, teach to women, is that we need to be comfortable putting ourselves first regardless of what others are saying externally. And I know you share this passion. And I'd love to talk a bit about that. So let's talk about the thought process, and how do you share with us your thoughts about, becoming a next level thinker, as you say.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And also I need to say that, remember that everyone kind of takes, like for someone who's never moved anywhere, and I say, why don't you move to London and start your life from, the beginning? It's like, wow, that's big. So we have different kind of zones of comfort, right? Mm-hmm. But like, if you never move outside your box, and this actually relates to thinking, like, how are you going to create anything new? And when it comes to women, you should serve yourself first, because if you don't serve yourself first, you can't serve anyone else, right?
Amen, sister. We can just stop right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's it.
Because like, it's the classic, if the oxygen goes low when you're at the airplane, mm-hmm. They don't say, please place the oxygen mask on everyone else first, and then if you're still alive, just place it on yourself, right?
Yeah, good luck.
So it's just like, for women, like, we just need to remember that we are the most useful when we look after ourselves. So that's one thing. And I guess, like, as I said, is everyone operates in their own zones of comfort, but if you don't come outside your box every now and then, your growth is very limited. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because like this is when it comes to thought process, is that if you think about that, thoughts originate everything. Like, everything starts with a thought, right? Mm-hmm. And that's like the birthplace of everything. Now let's start to think about what sort of thoughts does Anna, the ballerina, 12 years old, need to have versus the management consultant one versus the entrepreneur one. Clearly, there's very different sets of thoughts, but there's also a few common threads, like, I can do this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is what this is useful to share with you, because I know you work with a lot of women, is that question for women: how do you think anyone else can believe in you if you don't believe in yourself?
Ooh. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because, this is one of the things, is that a lot of people, and especially in Finland, we are quite like a humble nation, often quite introverted and shy people, as you can see. Like, people are like, where did you come from? But
that's why you had to go to London.
Well, yeah, clearly. But, the thing is that if we don't start to believe in ourselves, and sometimes it can come across as, oh, she's very confident. People often see I'm confident. I'm like, yeah, because I need to believe in myself. Sometimes it could come across as being arrogant. So, there's fine lines, right? Mm-hmm. But I've always believed in my ability to get stuff done, to make this happen. And I always also believe that I don't know everything, but I can learn stuff. Mm-hmm. And also, I don't need to know everything to do this. And by the way, you're never ready. So like, if I think about my thoughts, there's different sets when it comes to different phases of my life, but there's always that belief that I have for myself, because, surely, like, my friends and family support me, but if I don't believe in the stuff that I do, like, what I'm going to do is not going to be that great.
Right.
And I know you share this, like, being an entrepreneur, if you don't think highly of yourself, you can't put yourself out there. Like, it needs to come from a place where I believe in this stuff, because people buy enthusiasm, they buy your passion. Right. They don't buy the product you're doing, they buy you. What are you giving? Show me a piece of your heart, and when Brené Brown says, I love this, I'm like, I don't know, I'm quoting people like Steve Jobs.
I love it. Yeah. I love Brené Brown.
But this is so good, because she says, we really admire the vulnerability in others, but we are ashamed of that in ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so powerful, because I've now, with my business and all of the stuff I've done, I'm very comfortable of sharing my stories and my thoughts and what I've done, because I think that this might help others. So of course I'm being vulnerable, I'm opening up, but if it helps anyone else, it's useful. Sorry, I digress again.
No, we can always digress and talk about Brené Brown. She is amazing. She is the queen. She's funny as shit. So
yeah.
Someday Brené Brown is going to be on this show, by the way.
What? Ooh.
Someday I'm manifesting Brene Brown, Sassy AFTV. I'm just saying.
That would be so good. Yeah.
So we have the different thoughts, right? We have the different thoughts and the different roles that we play, whether it's times of our life, whether it's roles that we play every day, right? For example, I'm a mother, I'm a business owner, I help my husband with his business, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, right? I have a lot of different roles, and I have a lot of different thoughts that go along with each of my different roles. And depending on what I'm focusing on in that moment, that's where my thought process is, that's what I'm thinking about, that's maybe what's influencing me the most. If you want to take your life to another place, if you want to, whether it's a physical place or you just are ready for some sort of a change in your journey, talk to us about transforming your thoughts into action, because you talk about that so clearly and so specifically. And I think it's such a valuable lesson that women need to know. It's not just about, I wish that I could do this, X, Y, and Z. I wish that my life was different. I think about myself, laying on a beach in Hawaii because it's relaxing. Well, great. So how do you take that thought and therefore transform it into action that your life can go the way that you want it to go?
Absolutely. Oh, that's such a great question. And also let's remember that the thought already needs to be energizing. So if you're like, oh, it'd be so nice to lay on the beach, is that actually something that makes you excited? Is that something that makes you, go on goosebumps because that's what you want to go after? Yeah. So it's important that we start to understand that we don't only think thoughts, that we actually need to start to we need to start to feel them too on an emotional level, because that's when it becomes a signal into our bodies and into our reticular activating system in our brain. So when I think about producing thoughts, is that, and how that links with action is, I start to look at people. This is so good. Like, I love this sort of exercise. I look at people, I'm like, okay, let's look at this person who is doing something that I'd like to do. I'm like, what are they thinking? What do they need to believe about themselves to be true? Mm-hmm. So that they can actually do this? And then I'm like, what sort of action are they taking? And I think a lot of people look at people like, for example, Tony Robbins. So I've been in Tony's stuff a lot. So, for me to compare myself against Tony Robbins is like a cool exercise, but actually it'd be useful to look at someone who is a bit closer, only a few steps ahead, mm-hmm. because that gives me something more tangible to work with. Because that's also something I'm like, okay, so this is what they probably believe about themselves, and this sort of action is the action they're taking. And this is what I'm using a lot now in my business, mm-hmm. because in the end, I believe that the thought clearly starts the process, but the action needs to be like intentional, aligned with the thought, because you want to have congruency in everything that you are and what you do, right? So I see a lot of people doing like a lot of stuff and then they're not sure what's working. But if you have a good idea and a good thought behind that, it's almost like the action kind of lines up with that. Does this make sense? Like, mm-hmm. I start to think about that as, when I take intentional action that is aligned with my idea, the visual that you mentioned in the beginning. Right. And then I'm like, what thought is supportive of that? And then the action follows from that. And it feels good. It feels intentional. It feels like, yeah, it can sometimes be left field. You can't say with common sense that I know this contributes to my goal because A, Y, and Z, but you just you feel that, yeah, I need to do this. That's when, for me, the whole puzzle starts to make sense, because then I'm acting with congruency, mm-hmm. and I have some sort of almost like wholeness and integrity in everything that I do. And I would say that this might sound quite abstract, but if you start to pay attention to how you're feeling, mm-hmm. multiple times a day, you can start to see when you're out of whack. You can start to see when you're like, oh, I'm not sure about that. So a lot of us, especially I've seen this in professional women, is that we operate neck up, right? Okay. A lot of women have completely disconnected with their bodies where all the emotions are. So now I'm so much more aligned with the whole Anna and beyond, so that I have better understanding what thoughts and actions are aligned. But you need to start to be awake. You need to start to pay attention multiple times a day and be like, see what's going on, and be like, check in with yourself. Like, is this feeling good? Does this feel right? You know, this stuff. Like, do you do this? A lot of people like, sounds so basic, but are you doing it? If you're not doing it, you don't know it.
Well, and that's exactly the message that I share about self-care, right?
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing. If you're not aligned with your core values, then you're not practicing self-care.
Oh, for you. No, don't worry.
It's those viruses that, you know.
Yeah, don't worry. But like, I know, like, it's a nice combination because, you know, thought is in your head, but clearly emotion is in the body, right? And you work with the body, I work with the thought a lot. So I guess this is, especially for us women, this is quite important because we have a lot of intuitive powers. We have a lot of capacity to feel. So I feel that, you know, we should be using that more.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that. How do you tap into your intuition and your creative energy?
Yeah.
Because here's where I think a lot of women get stuck. Because I've been there. We're in demand women. We have so many demands on our time, right? Think back to that oxygen mask analogy. We almost can't save ourselves, right? We almost can't put on that oxygen mask because we're so worried about everybody else. So we're doing all these things. We're caught up in all the demands on our time, which we choose to have. But what happens is we forget to put on that oxygen mask. Therefore, we can't spend the time to think energetically and really tap into our intuition and our creative side, right? And so we lose some of that. So how do we bring it back? How do we get centered and bring back that focus into that magic that we all have inside us?
Wow. So, you know, a lot of my clients say, yeah, I don't have time for that. And I say, why don't you say that is not the priority for me and see how that feels? Yeah. So that's one thing. I think, you know, the thing is that we need to be quite smart in how we go about our daily lives, because in the end, we are what we do daily. So if you don't have 5 minutes for yourself in the morning, you don't have a life. Like, if I now ask you, Hallie, to make yourself 5 minutes in the morning, could you do that? Yes, you could do that.
Of course.
If I told you, can you make yourself 5 minutes during the day? Could you do that? Yes, you could do that. If I asked you, can you make 5 minutes for yourself in the day? Yes, you could do that, right? So it's all about that priority. And then, like, what I love is I always say to my clients is like, do you know what makes you happy? Do you know what creates joy? Do you know where, you know, you're smiling, you know, you're like enjoying yourself? What is that? You need to make a list of 20 things now and then do those things. So the thing is that, you know, at some point when we grow up, we're like, okay, fun is not allowed anymore, kind of thing. This stuff happens, right?
Serious.
Yeah, it's like, you know, and now I have my own business. I need to be serious all the time. You know, it's like, I want to be, you know, you said earlier about having that passion and childlike, that kind of enthusiasm. I still have that, because why not? Right?
I love that you said that you're still like that child and you still have that, you know, excitement inside you, because I'll tell you, a huge part of my story is that I lost that. I lost that so deeply that I forgot who I was and I forgot what lights me up. And somebody asked me today, they sent me a message and just said, how are you? Right? A very simple question that we get all the time.
Yeah.
And instead of just saying like, I'm good, how are you? Or I'm okay, I thought about it and I thought, I feel fucking awesome. And I feel that way because I'm so aligned energetically with what it is that I want to be doing. I feel not only the confidence as in I'm so amazing, but I feel confident that I'm aligned with what I'm intended to be doing and what makes me happy and what puts a smile on my face and having fun. Absolutely. So that's, I love that.
And what you're saying there is like, you know what you're about and you know what makes you happy. You know what creates joy in your life. Do that stuff. So it's not that, you know, all of us need to find our ways of how we want to live our lives. And clearly the context is always changing. But you create the content, you create your moments of joy, you create your energy every day, right? And if you do stuff that makes you happy and you're enjoying it, you know, you're going to vibrate higher, everything feels better. So for me, it's about, I've actually lost the original question, but it's really about finding these things that are meaningful to you. And for everyone, it's a bit different, but you need to make sure that you prioritize those every day and be creative. Like, you know, especially people like you, your mom, business owner, all of these, like you people are the most creative and organized, and like, you know, you can like shape time. So do that.
That's right.
Yeah. So, you know, do that and have fun and enjoy, like how life is about that in the end. But it is what we do daily. If you don't do that in your daily life, if you're not having fun and enjoying it, what's the point?
I 100% agree. What about the woman that says to you, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know. I don't know what gives me joy. How do you help them find that joy?
And we were actually talking about the creative process before. So that is really like how you tap into your intuition and how you tap into that creativity. So I would ask her to like, okay, so what was fun about today or last weekend, or what do you enjoy? Yeah. And quite sometimes, you know, when we are like, no, I can't think of anything, like you shut yourself from the opportunity to. So it's almost like, okay, let's warm up a little bit. Let's explore a few things. And then often for women, you know, it's being with female girlfriends. For many of us, it's things like yoga, scented candles, being with family, good food, music, like that kind of, you know, when we start to warm up, and often then you can see people start to smile and they start to relax. And then they're like, you know what? I really enjoy doing, you know, I love knitting and I haven't done that since 1995. I think I should really do that. There we go. So quite often we need to remember things that we've just forgotten because we've been so busy with stuff that matters less, right? So you have all the answers, and I just need to like just get you, like warm you up a little bit so that you can get to them. So that's what I would say. The woman is like, okay, let's just explore together. Let me help you to explore. Like there's something, the thing is for women is like, you have everything you need already. You don't need to be any different. You are amazing the way you are. And when we let that come through, it comes through easier when we are enjoying ourselves. People around us love us more. Men find us attractive. Yeah. And everything flows better when we spend more time in our feminine energy, when we enjoy life more, when we do stuff that makes us happy. So my tip is to do more of that.
I love it. And I love what you said. I want to go back to, because I don't want this to be lost on anyone, really being connected to yourself and to your body, right? So putting the mind, body, spirit connection together is so critical for our success in every aspect of our life. And if we have lost that connection, right, then we need to figure out the ways that find joy to bring it back, and also know that we have permission to do so.
Absolutely. And find your way. Like what makes you happy?
Right.
Like, I can tell you about my morning routine, but it's probably not yours. Like do your stuff and like just be less serious, have more fun. And quite often you'd be surprised how a lot of problems get solved when we just don't focus on them at all, but we actually place our energy and attention on something else for a while and enjoy our lives. And suddenly we're like, oh, that thing got sorted by itself. Happy times.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So I want to know, I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute. So while we're talking about things that make us feel joyful and fun and playful, what's something that I wouldn't expect you to say that makes you feel full of joy and happiness?
Wow. Oh, okay. So I quite like extreme sports.
Ooh.
So like I love the idea of when you're really kind of pushing the envelope and what you can do, like kind of you go, it's almost like out of body experience, be it a bungee jump, walking on fire, done both of them. I want to like, hop from a plane. Yeah, I have firewalk twice actually.
Oh my God.
That's kind of like, you know, when you get into the mode, you're like, wow, like I have so much more within me. Like you
Yeah.
are. And those things I love. So yeah, that's like maybe, I'm not sure joy, but that's like a very kind of well, it is a joyous moment.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of energy, great high energy. So that's what I enjoy. I want to do more of that. And that's on my kind of plan to do more of that next year.
Yeah. I love it. And it's funny because that for me is like sometimes so hard to tap into because I'll forget. And I have, for me, my biggest struggle in recent time has been kind of breaking free of these rules that I've placed on myself for no reason about things that I can like and things that I, should like or shouldn't like or make me happy or don't make me happy.
Yeah.
Etc.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it. Firewalking. That's amazing.
Yeah. It sounds dangerous.
Sounds exotic.
And it sounds like, oh my God, how have you done it? But like, it's actually a pretty cool experience. I've done it then Tony Robbins Unleash the Power twice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's good fun. Recommend
it. This has been so fun. And I love everything that you share about just really tapping into your mindset, tapping into your passion, tapping into your joy, how we can leverage it to really be the best version of ourselves and just to live our best life. Because even this idea of, being the best version of yourself, sometimes that seems overwhelming in and of itself, right? But just being happy and feeling fulfilled and passionate every day, whatever that means for you personally, right? Because every person is going to experience that in their own unique, different way. And that's beautiful in and of itself.
I love it. Thank you for, like, you put everything so beautifully that I love it. And that's exactly like, what is your best and what is your best today? It's different today than it is tomorrow.
Yeah.
But when you start to show up for your own life and when you start to take responsibility for yourself, that's when life starts to work for you, right?
Yes.
But you need to participate in your own life. Like I participated, like I ask every lady to participate as well, because that's when life starts to work for you. And this is important. You need to show up. And if you don't show up as yourself, life can only meet you halfway.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. So you need to get your ass closer.
Yeah. Yeah. Be you, girl. Be you.
Yeah, please. Everyone else is taken.
Yeah. Exactly. So where can everybody find you if they want to get to know you better? They want to know what you're about, learn more about what you offer in your business and how they can learn from you on your podcast and all that good stuff.
Amazing. I think, so indeed I have a podcast. I'm on all platforms and all of that. So my website, annakuusela.com, is the best place. My last name is Kuusela, because I know America's always like 2 U's. I'm like, yes, 2 U's. So that's the best place. You can find all the other stuff from there.
Great. And I'll put that in the show notes. I also know that you have a freebie that you wanted to share with the audience. Do you want to share about that real quick?
Yeah. So thank you. So that's a 5-day mini transformation in confidence. So that's 5 fun videos with me. And I'll give you my best tips on how you can be confident right away.
Love it. That's awesome. Well, I hope everybody will watch that too. I'll include that in the show notes so they can follow you, stalk you, do your free confidence training. And it's just been such a pleasure to have you on here, to get to know you better, to do a deep dive, to have you, suffer through my coughing and hacking as I'm fighting a virus. But I'm so appreciative for you, Anna. Your energy is fantastic. I love just the words of wisdom that you share and how you show up as you in such a genuine and authentic way that always feels real and fun and not perfect, but in its own perfect way.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And I'm so happy that you and me have met. So thank you. For this time.
Me too.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here. Look forward to seeing you next time on Sassy AFTV. See you later. One of my biggest takeaways from this interview with Anna is that you have everything you need already. You don't need to be any different. You are amazing the way you are. My wish is that you feel empowered and believe those words as strongly as I do. Thanks again for being here and tuning in for another episode of Sassy AFTV. It would mean the world to me if you would leave a comment and take a screenshot to share it with your tribe on Instagram or Facebook. Don't forget to tag me at Sassy Healthy Fit. Then make sure to head over to sassyhealthy.fit and sign up for our mailing list so you always know the latest and greatest in sassy fun. See you next time.